Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Press. We are reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Right, we'll go straight to the analyzing on the stories that we read out to you earlier. My guest on the show today is Azeez Adesokan, who is a journalist. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Good morning, Annabel. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. All right, viewers, our phone lines are open. You can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Remember, you only have 1 minute to make that contribution. Quite a number of stories, but then let's start from the slain soldiers, the Okwama killings, and then yesterday we saw the burial. Vanguard newspaper says at burial, grieving families of slain soldiers demand justice. Says criminals should not be allowed to leave. Some say their son was supposed to get married, but then on the flip side, Tinubu urges Okwama elders and chiefs to fish out the culprit, warns military against reprisal attack on innocent citizens. But then he gives scholarship houses to their children and all of that, and then bestows the honors on the posthumous honor award on those who have been slain. What are your thoughts in this regard? I hear some people say, okay, that's medicine after death, but then it is what it is.
It's a sad one, the national tragedy that this juncture of our national life, we are witnessing unjust killings of our heroes. We call them heroes. Anybody in uniform, regardless of what is happening, they are our heroes. They are actually protecting the integrity of our country. But what we are seeing in Okwama and having insight in one or two things that actually occurred, that shouldn't actually give room for I say we, as citizens, to be killing our soldiers or policemen or what have you. It's a sad one indeed, and we just pray that God Almighty forgive those that lost their lives. And on part of the federal government, I think a good one for Mr. President yesterday, and I believe that should be extended to serving officers too. I think it's part of what will encourage us to have a kind of more dedication from these people that actually, giving their lives to us, for us to be more secured. It's not an easy task for a able body to be safeguarding part of our country, considering what is happening across the country. But for the Okwama community and what have you, I think, like what Mr. President said, there is nothing that will happen in a community that those elders will not be aware. They should be able to know, even though if those criminals, I will call them criminals, because a right-thinking man will not say, oh, let me take lives of soldiers. And for you to know the act was actually deliberate ones. They actually took away the arms of the soldiers. What are you doing with arms if you are not a criminal? I mean, the highest thing somebody of our nature could go for is your telephone. Your phone. So what are you doing with arms? If you are finding arms in my car, why? What for? To do what? To achieve what? I believe we should be able to interrogate ourselves. By now, common sense should have dictated to us that those that kill those soldiers are actually in deliberate act, and they were actually criminals. Nothing short of that.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's actually go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation with Azeez Adesokan. See you later.
In a world where information is vital to every individual, a platform where technology is a medium to pass information, you can always catch up on all information written in the newspapers, even without having one. Join us on The Press.
Reaching live from the Abuja studios.
On The Punch for this morning. The Blueprint newspaper, Nigerian Tribune this morning.
As we give you information and opinions about current events and topical issues on politics, business, sports, entertainment, weather forecasts, and lots more in the local city, across all states, and across all countries. Showing daily on Startimes, channel 124, 9 a.m. West African time, only on KAFTAN TV. Stay connected with us.
That he said it is a reason why I will not do it.
I pursue the federal government to pay us our damages.
YouTube, KAFTAN TV.
A very tricky one. And then the bottom line is this.
Website www.kaftan.tv.
Point is, the youth must come together.
right, welcome back. All right, before we went on that break, I hear you talk about the fact that like normal person would want to just go for phones and wallets and not think of taking their arms, the arms of these military troops.
I know, as a normal person will not be interested in taking arms.
Right.
A normal phone wants to be in custody of telephone, not even taking the military phone. I'm saying that if a law-abiding citizen is working, what you can find on him or her is your telephone or any other or wallet or what have you. But when you are now seeing hardened criminal claiming to be youth, because we need to be defining it. They are saying youth of Okwama, youth of Okwama. A responsible youth of Okwama wouldn't have actually acted in that manner. They said they were mercenaries or what have you. Whatever those cases. Look at what happened yesterday. The force headquarters has declared professor of physics wanted in Delta State University and 6 others. So I mean, they have questions to answer. It's a national embarrassment at this time of age that we are losing our soldiers, not even at the war front, a communal clash, and a certain community are being accused to have deliberately taken lives of innocent 17 uniformed men. It's something that is worrisome, and I believe the military will not sit down. They have to look inward, and I believe, like Mr. President said, they should apply professionalism so that innocent Nigerians from Okwama or neighboring communities will not suffer collateral damage. The best way to act, and I believe those criminals will fish out in due time.
All right, so now I remember having a conversation with, on one of our sister programs, the conversation with an ex-militant leader who happens to be a mayor of Woboland and then a coalition of Niger Delta ex-agitators. And then he said that those soldiers, when they were coming in, that they were not in the community leaders, traditional leaders, or even religious leaders were not informed that those people were coming there. So how do you come for peacekeeping when we are not even informed that you are coming to our place? And then according to him, he said that they started asking for where is your leader, and they wanted to pick up the leader. And then according to him, if you pick up a traditional leader or the leader of a place, it means you've already disarmed that community. So even though he agreed that it was wrong for them to have killed him, and I remember asking, so who are the people that killed you? You would not say you are a traditional leader. You don't know the boys or the youths that killed. And then they said they don't know. So, but then there have been so much around this. And then I remember him also saying that some of these villagers, they are still inside the bush because they had to run for their lives, and they are still there. Some of them are even dying inside the bush. How do we then solve this so that, because I remember also talking about the Zakibiam and the Odi crisis. Yes. I hope we don't get there. And then they say it has even gone past that.
Yeah, you see, we should not be actually trying to defend criminal acts. And as a law student, that's what they call, in criminal law, that's what they call street liability. Street liability is an offense that doesn't need to prove mens rea. That, I mean, the physical appearance speaks for itself. What happened is street liability. They are culpable. And the excuse of who is a traditional leader in Nigerian constitution, the soldiers need not to inform anybody that are coming anyway. Soldiers will not just come here and say, oh, they need to have informed the CEO that they are coming here. In as much as they are coming to conduct themselves, they are not coming to kill or anything. You cannot say a soldier should have informed a traditional leader that they were coming to that community. It's upside down. It's only a sitting governor that can be notified that there will be deployment of troops or deployment of police patrol vans to some certain places. Just the governor or a local government chairman, just to inform, to be aware. They don't have any authority to derive from traditional rulers that are coming to a community. So even though that was not done, is that a justifiable means to take another man's life? These soldiers forget their uniforms. They are also Nigerians. What law permits you to have taken another man's life? Even to common sense, does that make any sense to any of us? So the excuse of the criminal that somebody didn't inform somebody before they came. When they came, they were asking for traditional leader. They wanted to, no, they are taking sides. We've had all sort of cock and bull stories in social media that they were trying to side the other community over another community. Even that was the case. You shouldn't have actually had the audacity to have taken somebody's life. These are fathers. These are breadwinners of some families. You see, to kill a fellow human being is not the solution to any injustice meted out to you. You can file a case in court. You can petition the chief of army staff. You can petition the IG. You can petition the presidency. So you see, Delta say Okwama cannot act in isolation. We are part of the country. Yes, many of us, we are aware of some of overzealousness coming out from this uniform men sometimes, but that doesn't mean you kill a soldier or you kill a policeman. It's not justifiable. Right. It's not just justifiable. We drive on our roads, policemen will stop you. Sometimes you get angry and everything, but that doesn't mean you now kill a policeman because you are being harassed by a policeman. You cannot kill a fellow human being. You don't have the power to kill. Whoever that kill must be arrested, prosecuted, and jailed or killed or sentenced to death. You cannot kill a fellow human being. Like rightly posited, the Zach Kimbiam and the OD episode, I think some of our people ought to have actually learned their lessons. You cannot kill soldiers and I expected them to fold their arms. So you are now in the bush. You are now suffering collateral damage. I believe the community of Okwama, they know, they are aware, they are aware those that actually perpetrated the criminal acts. They are aware. It's not possible. We are in this community in Abuja here. So, I mean, people know I'm a visitor here in this community. They know. They don't know my body. They know I'm a visitor. As I was just driving, they know. So, and they know you are not a visitor. That you stay here, you work here. You understand? So they know. In the community, we know ourselves. You know a first-time comer. You know a regular comer. So the Okwama community leaders should actually come out and actually open the way and let us have peace in our country.
All right, still on insecurity, let's talk about the children, the Kuriga school children that were released. Quite a number of, you get to hear so many stories on and off social media. In fact, the one I even saw yesterday, someone just put, okay, let me look for it. Someone actually said, the children were rescued on Sunday and 178 Ashwebi was ready on Monday. Miracle no dey tire Jesus. And then some other person said, you don't call it rescue, you call it release, because after all, no bandit or no terrorist was caught, nobody was killed, no one returned. It's just only the children that were returned back home. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think so some of us are actually understanding what is going on in the northwest and northeast. The banditry of a thing is more of socio-cultural problems. And these people, like we said about Okwama communities, is a communal issue. And those leaders, they know those were bandits. They know. And bandits are not invisibles. And for like somebody said on the social media that they were released on Sunday, it looked comical, but there are senses in it. Because how can somebody be released on Sunday and before we under 24 hours, their regalias, uniform regalia is available. It speaks volume that they are aware that these people will be released because they were actually in touch. I want to support the government. That wasn't like,
what people are you talking about? The government? The
government will know them. You understand? They are agents of these bandits that are closer to government. I don't want to be mentioning them because there is a particular character that will grant interview that, the government should negotiate, and just for you to know, to confirm that these bandits are not invisibles. They are part of those communities across the northern states. And what are we now talking about? There is nothing that will happen in a given community that those in that community will not have an idea. That's the truth. So for we to be having release or no release, I believe the government should do more about social-cultural problems that is informing this banditry. What are the social-cultural problems? You see, you cannot just wake up someday and see criminals all over. So something must have informed it over the years. And this is what we've been telling our leaders. Enough of corruption while in office. Use people's money for people. Develop people. If it is primary school, if it is secondary school, just do these things for us. So that it will limit youth involving in crime. That's not an excuse anyway. I'm just on the part of the government. But in the real sense of it, we should look inward. Who are these bandits? We should look at who are these bandits. Are they from other countries? Are they from other planets? So Kaduna State government should engage critical stakeholders and speak to themselves. Well, I believe those stakeholders were actually engaged. Reason we saw the result of released of those Kuriga students.
Oh, so you're calling them released, not rescued?
Of course, no rescued. No rescued. It's released. You see, when you know what actually happened, your problem will be lesser. The government was actually aware who these bandits are. You understand? They know where they are. So there are some intermediaries that must have actually mediated and engaged the bandits. I want to say, I'm not sure if there was any kind of money exchange. But all I need.
But they say there's no ransom paid.
There might not be. There might not be.
Even though those ones were asking for 1 billion naira.
There might not be ransom paid because these are innocent Nigerians in their schools. They have parents, and these parents too. The bandits are not unknown to these parents because you are living in a community. You know those that could attack you, even if they are imported in from any other countries. I don't want to be mentioning countries. Even if they are imported in, you will know that this so and so actually collaborated with outsiders come and wreak havoc in our community. So nothing happened in isolation in this world.
Okay, so does it actually surprise you the fact that the government came out at some point to say that there were over 200 of them that were kidnapped, and then later recounted and they said it was over 130 something that were kidnapped? And then I remember reading one of the papers yesterday that said from one of the children that were kidnapped says we were just 136 that were taken away. And I'm wondering, how does the child know that you were 136 that were taken away? Doesn't that even surprise you, all of these numbers?
You see, I believe because it's a very conscious discourse, and because of the national outlook, and some of us will not be misinterpreted that we are trying to attack certain part of the country. We should not be encouraging criminals in our land, criminals in our communities. And if there are no collaborations between criminal elements and the community, there are certain things that will not occur. You remember when we had NSAS protest, and it became violence. There are certain police stations that the youth of that community, of those areas, actually said, no, you are not going to attack this particular police station. Right. It happened in my state, in Oyo State. It happened some other places too. The youth of those communities actually stood and became security to the police. No, you are not going to attack this police. These are own communal police station, and they've been nice to us. You are not going to attack. It speaks volume about communal and criminal relationship. That's the truth. So for the young child to have actually noticed that they were then 136 or 142, see, so something is fishy somewhere, and it's becoming more of a drama. When you see by tomorrow morning, God forbid, another news in so place, 200 students, 150 students. That shouldn't be encouraged. I believe the community leaders, they have more to do. They have more to do. Police cannot be everywhere. The soldiers cannot be everywhere. We are even overstretching our armed forces. That's the truth. In Okwama today, Odi tomorrow, in Kaduna, Southern Kaduna today, Gidawa tomorrow, Zamfara tomorrow. So just 2 days ago, Dauda Lawa, governor of Zamfara State, calling for more troops to be deployed in Zamfara State. So for how long will we continue doing that? What we need is engagement of the locals, and that's all. Before we know, things will go. But if failure to do so, the federal government, particularly Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, can actually decide on what to do.
All right, let's still stay on insecurity. Quite a number of stories we need to read out, but then if you can help us with time. IPI to Tinubu, direct military to produce abducted editor. And then when I just remember the fact that how people are, especially people on this field, they're always like in this occupation, they're always in the field trying to get the stories. In fact, I always tell people that we don't always tell you guys as much as we see. We like try to keep your mental health, but then who keeps our own mental health? Now look at the father of someone, a breadwinner, has been taken for over 2 weeks, going to a month, and nobody is saying anything. What are your thoughts on all of this?
You see, the more you look, the less you see. And it's a sad one that we got to this quagmire platform in our country, that kidnapping had now become order of the day when we are not in Banana Republic. As journalists, we've seen, you see, and it's not an easy task. We are the most dangerous species. We are vulnerable in society, and I believe Mr. President, we call on him because we are practicing central government. The power is in Abuja, and there is limited power in the states. We should actually put stop to this, and the NUJ themselves, there should be a kind of sensitization that, just like the policemen will say that the police are your friends, journalists are your friends. We are not criminals element in the society. We are actually reporting what is going on in our country, and just for we to be informed. Without journalism, I believe this space is even empty, and I appeal to society at large to encourage those of us that are journalists. We are trying to balance the society, and we are the fourth estate of the realm without us, and we should always remember for entrenchment of democratic culture in our country, journalists actually played vital roles. You know, from pre-independence era, from Zik of Africa, Obafemi Awolowo, they were one-time journalists. For some of them, became lawyer.
Right.
Zik actually founded Pilot newspaper, Awolowo Tribune newspaper, and these are tabloids that actually shaped our country. The military era was actually no-go area. Journalists were wounded in cells. Olatunji Dare, Kunle Ajibade, this guy was killed. Bagado Kato, he was actually named. There was a particular hall named after him in Lagos by Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was governor. So journalists should be spared of all these rots in our society. We are not enemies of society. I clamor again, please, because we never can tell. We call for release of our editor, please and please. We can't continue this way. These are not criminals. It's a law-abiding citizens. Why should we be kidnapped? Reason we are telling our security agencies that we should be more of intelligence gathering than just stay on the road with your gun. Intelligence is key. If you have information of a particular environment, you get your results without actually mincing word. I believe we should gather more intelligence than show or physical strength here and there. God save our land.
Amen. All right, let's move to other stories. I'll give you 2 questions and I'd like you to take them together. This one says, on Vanguard newspaper says, Abure re-elected Labour National Chairman as NLC, I beg your pardon, as NLC kicks. But then says, Labour Party BOT ignores outcome of national convention, takes over running of party. And then in that national convention and all of the things that they did there, they said their presidential candidate, who they've agreed again to be their presidential candidate in 2027, that's Peter Obi, was absent. All right, and then even Oti and then some other persons. What are your thoughts on all of this with excuse me, with all of the hue and cry coming out from either the Labour Party or the NLC, take away Abure, take away the NLC president and all, but then Abure is back.
Peter Obi, Alex Oti. I think is a good one for our democratic culture, and regardless of what, you cannot dictate to a political party, even if you have a larger interest. And I believe Abure or no Abure, he has been embattled chairman. In as much as if INEC was actually present at the National Congress, I don't think anybody can overrule that. If you are not okay with it, you can go to court. But Abure himself, I begin to suspect him. I mean, what has actually changed? That things are now falling apart. And these are your allies, political allies one time, and they are a member of this party. Why can't you guys come up together, then have a national congress? And if you are going to be emerged, you don't force authorities. You don't force authorities, and it's not ready for our democracy. But internal democracy is key. But as for me, if INEC actually has not said anything otherwise, Abure remains the chairman. If INEC, because INEC must have actually been present there. If INEC is not issuing a statement, then Abure stands. But if INEC actually say otherwise, then Joe Ajeros and Peter Obi, Alex Oti can always come together and have another. But to me, I'm not seeing Labour Party taking a stand. But like rumor mongers are telling us that Peter Obi is even on one leg out of that party going to SDP. According to rumors, nothing can be confirmed yet. But in politics, rumor fly before the reality beckons.
Now I hear you talk about how democracy, that this is actually not good for our democracy. Let's go straight to Senegal. We know what that happened, their election, and then you have youth coming out, and then some people say, oh, the same people that are shouting that, oh, he's a youth of at least 40, and so you are the same people that would just prefer to sit down here and say, no, we want an older generation. So do you actually see that happening in Nigeria anytime soon? Maybe 2027 or 2031?
With all sense of humility, I'm a youth myself, and I support youths at all times. I support us to be given platform. But it's unfortunate that some of us have been given opportunity in government positions or private positions. We tend to have abused this. That is not supposed to mean that some of us don't have anything upstairs. But the fact remains that youth, in quotes, is not the solution to our problem. The older generation is not the solution to our problem. It depends on character. I don't want to go for certain class of age or clan. You see, our problem in Africa as a whole has gone beyond. People were celebrating. I was just laughing. You don't celebrate in that food. You've not seen performance. You've not seen how he actually going to exhibit Some of these leaders, we are saying things.
But isn't that like a shift from the norm of having one person stay there for decades and even bring their families in?
There was never a time we had old men in Africa. You tell us, go to Cameroon, the same Senegal, go to Gambia, go to all these places. These guys came into power at 40, 42, and before you know it, they are going for third term, fourth term, fifth term. They didn't become president in those countries. It's only even in Nigeria, apart from the military eras, it's only in Nigeria that somebody come, the IS will go 2 term and you leave office. In those African countries, many of them came into power at 40 years, 44. They kept on being in power, 5th term. They said 5 years, one single term, another 5 years, another 5. They will be there for more than 2 decades. We've seen it in Cameroon, Biya is still there. We've seen it even in Libya, before the Libya upsurge. Gaddafi had been there for how long? We see what is happening in Kigali now, in Rwanda. Yes, he's performing, but no man is island of anything. You just have to have step aside. The man is going for another time. Paul Kagame in Kigali, in Rwanda. Yes, Rwanda has actually came out of the Tutsis and the Hutus, whatever they had in the 1994-95. But at this juncture, should we continue to be celebrating mediocrity? Let's see how far. I wish him best of luck. But for now, I have my reservation before we actually celebrate that the youth has actually emerged as president of Senegal. But for me, let me see how far it goes. For me, youths clamoring for about youth, is it not the same youth, acclaimed youth, criminals, acclaimed youth, killing our soldiers in Okwama? A responsible youth will not do that. So for we to be saying youth, these men were also one-time youths. So we must project ourselves. We've seen young ministers. We've seen their performances so far. What have they been offering us? Somebody was actually accused of corruption within 6 months of office. A youth, for that matter. I think Beta Edu should be 37 or 38 years. Let's say 40 years. What has come out of Beta Edu? Yes, we've had the likes of Obi Ozekwesili, Okonjo Aladora Kunyuli, No Ribadu. Then, when they were in their 40s, they did very well in their own best interest. But what have we been seeing around?
So you're saying that instead of talk about the age or demography, let's talk of performance.
Of course, the character involved.
Okay.
The character involved. You saw what happened in the US. Let's say, okay, we cannot compare the climb. But in Africa, let's compare and contrast. Some of our youth have not been encouraged. That's the truth. That somebody emerge as the president is a good one. But let's see how far it goes. I wish him all the best. Senegal is our neighbor. And whatever happens in Senegal will affect us. We pray for, entrainment of democratic culture in our country. We are not happy. What's happening in Nigeria Republic, in Burkina Faso, the military junta, and what have you. But that's supposed not suggest that we should say old men should go and die off. What we want in Africa is development.
All right, let's move straight to Abia State, where Governor Oti called for stoppage of ex-governors' president's pension, and then Vanguard says calls for stoppage of ex-governors and president pension raise dust. But Governor Oti says, I'm sitting on it, and it looks like he's going to be stepping on a lot of toes in that regard. What are your thoughts on this?
Governor Alex Oti is trying to tell us the needful, but because in all practical terms, if you had become governor in this country, you're not a poor man. If you had become a president, you're not a poor man. Sometimes you don't need to confuse, like state like Abia. I don't expect Orji or Kalu, who by all standards is a rich man, to be actually be drawing pension again.
But you cannot say for him if he's a rich man or not.
Of course, he is. He's not a poor man. You see, there are certain platforms you must have attained in life. You can't go backward. It's not about affluence. We are talking about being comfortable. You can't be governor for 8 years. Even if you are not involving in any corruption, you'll be comfortable. You don't need this pension of a thing again from those states. But we've seen some states like Lagos, if they could afford it. But to me, it's more of morality than law. And you don't need to have any law to stop you from drawing pensions as a former governor. It's about morality. If truly you have morals, like Lagos state government, I'm not sure. I'm not comfortable if Fashola is actually earning, should be earning. If somebody is drawing, they are comfortable or moral.
How about Ogun State, where you had OGD at
OGD, you see, across the states in Yobe, how much is Yobe earning that a former governor or former governors will not be drawing pension from the purse of Yobe? It borders more on morality. It's just like being actually making out somebody not up to me financially. So for Alex Oti, it's a good one, because in Nigeria, if you don't actually promulgate any law stopping something, people say, oh, after all, I'm not committing any offense if I'm drawing pension. It borders more on morality. That our politicians should actually imbibe culture of morality, virtues, that you don't need these things. But greed is actually at the apex level in all our politicians. I don't want to say most. What do you want to draw pension from Abia State for that matter? So for Alex Oti, he's telling us that Alex Oti, doesn't Abia pension even if he leaves office. That's a moral one. It's a good one from Alex Oti. I believe others should copy.
So don't you see that stepping on toes, and then
of course he's trying to be on the side of the people that voted him in office. If you are stepping toes in this country, God will be with you, because without stepping on toes, we can't move forward as a nation. Corruption has actually been impediment for our development. Some of us are suffering today because of corruption. So I don't know what a former governor would draw pension for. No matter, you see, they are having cars. These people they have privileges already attached to their office when they were in office. So what else again do they want? 2.5 million, 2 million, 4 million. That money, as little as it sounds, can go to a primary school in Abia, a local village in Abia. It will serve a purpose. Yesterday on TV, on social platform, they were actually discussing about POS operators. A young lady of 16 years telling us that she's actually into POS business, supporting her parents because she wants to gather money for a WAEC fee. And that girl is from a particular state. We have a sitting governor or former governors drawing pensions. We have sitting governors buying cars. And here a poor lady, she could not afford to pay for WAEC fee. Look at the psychological pressure that will be on that young lady, a 16 years old. So our governors, our senators, they should do more. They should do us little. Yes, your children are traveling abroad. Nobody begrudge you. But the little allocated to us, let us assess it.
All right. Okay, let's take two questions, two headlines, and then before we wrap up the show. Daily Times says Ohanaeze reiterates call for power devolution and creation of additional states in Southeast. We'd like you to take that one, and then before we leave, we'll take the story on Binance and Jawala's escape, national embarrassment, says ex-DSS director Ejiofor. Let's take this together.
Yes, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, I actually support the clan. The clamor for having at least a singular state for the Southeast. What is source for goose is also, like they say. But the point here is you have to go through constitutional amendments. And we all know, unless there is a national consensus on that, creation of a state is more of near impossible thing. Because there will be amendment to constitution, and 2/3 of the states we actually append and their signature, support the amendment before you go back to the presidency. But for me, there should be a national consensus. If we are healing our land, we are praying for our country, we should do the needful. Southeastern states deserve a state. In the Southwest, we have 6 states. In other zones, they have 6. Northwest has 7. Southeast has 5 states. Yes, I don't know whatever demography that was used, maybe population, landmass, or whatever. But in terms of speaking truth to power, Southeast deserves to have a singular state. It's not the problem of Southeast to go and decide which area this particular state will come from, because it's another debate entirely. You say, okay, let us have one more state in Southeast. So people of a particular tribe in Abia State, that's there you now say this, I don't want to be mentioning name. The Abia says, oh, I'm not part of Abia. So somebody say, I'm not Umaya. I'm Abao. If you go to Annabel, they say, oh, I'm Inewi people. So I'm from Imo State. The Olu will say, we want to go apart. The Okigwe will say, the Owerizo will say, oh, if you go to Enugu, you understand, the Imbi say in Imo. So all of them, they should, how do we agree? Because it was the military fiat that created these states. Nobody was sat down that this state will come and that one will come. But the military actually did all those things. But in democratic era, to creation of a state is more of a cumbersome episode to embark upon. But be that as it may, there should be a national consensus that, oh, we are doing this constitutional amendment on creation of state for Southeast alone. But the debate go back to the Southeast or Ohanaeze Ndigbo. As they concluded where this particular state will come from in the entire eastern region, that will be another subject to debate. And for Ejiofor, the former DSSS guy, I agree, it's a national embarrassment when somebody is in custody and he escaped out of our country. That means there is a kind of synergy between the criminal and the elements in Nigerian police force that actually, planned for his escape, because that man didn't disappear. It was actually planned for to have escaped.
You know, in my mind, when I was seeing that story, I just remembered where we were watching the movies, in Mexican movies or these action movies.
The mafias.
The mafias,
yes.
How they used to escape. And then in my mind, is that what happened? Is that what played out?
Exactly what happened. See, the guy was actually plotted for, and not his own making. He paid his way through. I can say that authoritatively, because it sound no logical at all. Somebody in custody. And you see our policemen, if they want to walk, they walk. And I believe there is problem somewhere. All
right. Fatai Azeez Adesokan, journalist. Great pleasure having this talk with you.
Thanks for having me.
Great. All right, viewers, that's where we leave it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful time here on The Press. We'll see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow is Good Friday. I'll see you again. My name is Annabel Orji. Keep watching KAFTAN Television. Good morning.